Hey everyone, it's Mike Ware, back here with a little bit of an inside look into the Master Hardcore box. So if you've been watching my Let's Play, you should know a little bit more about this. Otherwise, you should check that out first maybe, but I wanted to show you a little bit about what's inside the box and how this whole thing works. So we've got the start button over here, and some options in the back. This is actually about half of what it actually took to do. This is my test world, and but it's a little bit easier to see how things are working along here. So in the back, as you saw when I was starting out, I have the options to turn on regeneration, so you don't have to play Ultra. You can kind of just play the Master Hardcore mode itself, but that wouldn't be quite in the same spirit. And then for the first time I wanted to give options for having at least one day rather than going straight into the nighttime mode. So I'm going to show you how the options work here. So when you hit the start button, it sets up the initial bit of scoreboard stuff, so it adds all these different scoreboard objectives for basically every mob in the game, because one of the things we do is to do mob loot off. We turn the mob loot off here, and that's so that the chickens, cows, and pigs won't give you food, because that's one of the tenets of the Master Hardcore mode is you don't get regular food sources. And however, with that, we still want to give the player leather and feathers and anything else from other mobs, so we kind of have to re-implement that logic again, which is kind of what everything is in the back over here, is just doing all those checks for you killing mobs and giving you those items. So you can see I have a scoreboard displayed here on the right for a demonstration I'll do in a little bit about killing cows, and so one of these here is the cow objective here. So this is just adding a scoreboard objective and keeping track of the cows that I kill and adding that to the kill cow score. So we'll see that again later. So, oops, it's getting to be nighttime. Let's make it daytime again. So you can see the daylight cycles on currently. Here's where we set the time to night and turn the daylight cycle off. But we can see if we hit this button here, suddenly these two commands will change to keeping the daylight cycle to true and giving you the first day here when you hit the start button. And so that makes use of the new and handy dandy block data command. So this is targeting those specific blocks and changing the actual command inside that command block. So that's pretty handy. I used this in another little setup that I was testing out. So it's pretty nice. So I can have the kind of default chain of options needed to start the game set up. I can have these buttons which quickly just use a couple command blocks to change the game rules. This one in the back you'll see is the natural regeneration. And then I just copy those again, but put them back to the default options in this reset options change. So this one's always the longest because it's undoing everything that was just done. So here's the daylight cycle back to false. So once this machine gets started, we'll see this piston pushing this redstone block here, which will start this comparator clock. So this will do the one-tick clock basically just to fire off all these command block chains, which I'll get to in a second. And then we also fire off, using this repeater here just to get a constant signal again, we fire off this two-tick clock. I found as if I was doing this particular check in this command block, every tick it was not registering properly, so I had to slow it down a bit. But what this one does is actually clears all the chests from the inventories of players. So this is what prevents you from crafting chests, which is one of the other tenets of the Master Hardcore mode. And it's just regular chests, so you're still allowed to make ender chests, but those are, of course, a lot harder and still limited. Harder to obtain, but limited in their capacity. Alright, so what does the rest of this stuff do? So basically, all the time, we're going to test for seeing if a player has at least killed, in this case, one cow. Right, so you remember we added the scoreboard objective for killing cows there. So this comparator will let us know if we've done that and fire off if we've killed the cow. So in the case that we've killed the cow, we're going to give that player who killed at least one cow one piece of leather, and then we're going to reset that scoreboard for the killing of cows. And so the rest of these down the line are basically doing just the same thing for different entities. So here's sheep giving wool, etc. This one's a little different. This one is checking for chickens. And in the case of a chicken, I wanted to really give you two options. I wanted to either give you eggs or give you here, eggs or feathers. And so I needed a way to randomly pick one or two of those paths. And so I created this little contraption here. So this is again using the two-tick clock. Just in this particular case, it was too fast otherwise. And so you see I have a dropper hopper set up here. So hopper's empty. Dropper has a diamond hoe, just because it's, you know, a big item, and then some wool. And so you can control the percentage of one output versus the other based on the amount of wool you have in here. So in this case, I'm going to have a 33% bias for one side and 66% for the other. Well, rounding there. And so what will happen is in the 33% case, I should have just turned the daylight cycle off, but the 33% case will come down this path and we'll hit this rare one. And then the other case will hit the common path and we'll just output common. So if I turn this on, we'll start seeing command block output here of commons and rares. And so we'll actually see when the wool's in here, we get the common, and when the hopper comes out, then you get the rare. And so, you know, this signal is basically getting the dropper to pick one of these at random, and then we use a comparator here on the hopper to see what type of item it is. If it's the diamond hoe, the strength is going to be 3, and therefore it's going to run this command block and output the rare signal. In the case that it's a piece of wool, then it's just going to have this one piece of redstone lit up. And so I put a torch here to get the opposite of that signal, and I'm using a repeater here that's 1 tick on this one to basically combine and check at the same time if it's 1 but not 3. So if it's just the 1 but not 3 because this block isn't powering the repeater, then it's just going to go to the common signal. So I negate this one again, and then I just power this this block here to get the command block to say common. And so that's really it. And so that's the same thing I set up over here. Is I've got a dropper hopper. So I wanted, you can see here's the 3 output getting repeated over here. So I wanted the feather to be the rare one. And then in the other case, in the common case, we come over here, we negate it, we power this command block, gives us an egg. And then in both cases, we reset the, or we give the player an extra XP, and we reset the chicken score. Now in actuality, I swapped out the design a little bit at this place to give every mob kill 1 XP, so I wouldn't have to put these 1 XP blocks everywhere, and that compacted some of this over here a bit. So that's basically the system in a nutshell. Oops, I should shut this one off. To control giving, you know, a couple options. So the spiders are the other ones with this. They give string or spider eyes. So I use that same setup duplicated up here again. And then the final bit is this daylight sensor, which gets moved up to the top. But this is just checking for nighttime, and in that case, so after your 1 day, if you chose to do the 1 day, it sets the daylight cycle to false and sets the time to midnight, so that it just continually stays dark. So I'm gonna turn the machine on here. We'll see the piston push the redstone in the block there and start all these clocks, right? And just clear out my inventory, change my game mode, and give myself some items. And so you'll see it here, if I try and craft a chest, oops, always do that. Then as soon as I do that, the chest disappears. And so you see I lost the wood as well. I think I crafted 2 there by mistake. But so that's this section over here, this little clock, and all it's doing is basically, I can't look at it with survival, of course, but basically it's clearing the chests all the time. So that's how we prevent the player from creating chests. And then here's a cow. So if you look on the right there as I kill this cow, and oh no, don't run into the nether again. Okay, so you might have noticed quickly that the scoreboard went to 1 and then disappeared, and I was given a piece of leather here. So so that's how this one's working, just checking did I kill a cow from that scoreboard objective, and then giving me a piece of leather. So let's see if I can do this without destroying too much. Summon a cow, and of course he runs away. And you saw this comparator just flashed on for a second when I killed the cow, and it gave me another piece of leather. So you may have noticed this pink outline here, and what this is was my spawn chunk, and so that's a very important piece, as that makes sure that this is always running regardless of where you are in the world. The spawn chunk is always loaded, and so if I give myself compass, we can see that you can use the compass to determine where this chunk is, and the compass will basically point to one square within this chunk. And so you'll see that this is the actual green square, so regardless of where I am, it's going to point to this green square. And so then from that you can see what chunk you're in, and then I just outlined it in the pink wool here. And so that got me the spawn chunk. And so that way, if I teleport away from here, I will teleport far, far away. So normally that chunk would be, oops, I'm kind of stuck here or something, but normally that chunk would be far, far away and unloaded. But you can see I can kill the cow and still get the piece of leather. So I'll teleport myself back, go up a bit. There we go. Back to my machine, and you'll notice it's getting nighttime, and so we can start watching this machine over here. And I know in the past the Nether used to have issues with running stuff from the spawn chunk, but I think since they split it into running on separate threads, it seemed to be working fine for me. So we'll see if I get to the Nether in the Let's Play or not, but that will be an interesting experiment. So you can see it's getting darker and darker. I'm just going to set this to peaceful, get rid of the mobs for now. And as soon as this goes off, when the moon rises a little bit, you'll see that this torch will light up, and we'll set this back to midnight, and now the daylight cycle's off, so it'll constantly stay night for Master Hardcore. So that's it. That's how Master Hardcore mode goes from getting rid of your chests, preventing the friendly mobs from giving you food sources to force you to think a little bit more about food, and still give you loot for the other mobs, and then makes it constantly nighttime. And of course the neat little path picker here for the redstone. So hopefully you found this interesting, and hopefully I'm still going to be going strong in the Let's Play, so follow along. Thanks for watching.